Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Powered by Coldwell Banker Ford McMurray. We love YMM. Monday.
As you're cruising lately, holy cow, it's probably costing you a little bit more money than maybe ever before. Not seeing $2 prices in Alberta just yet, but apparently it's never happened in Canada before this year and is very, very likely to. We're keeping an eye on things, but I figured it was time for, I think it's just appropriate, time for another punch lineup. Let us begin. There's the bell. Gas is so expensive is the setup. That is it. Gas is so expensive. My girlfriend kicks the snow off the running boards just to make the truck lighter now. Gas is so expensive. Fill her up with 20 now means 20 individual bills, not just the one. Gas is so expensive. This year the Indy 500 is going to be the Indy 5. And it's going to be thrilling. Gas is so expensive. We went from you road tripping to you must be tripping. It's just not going to happen. And finally, gas is so expensive, even Tom Brady is going back to work. Yes, that is also true. You have any more punchlines, though? Throw them at me. Give us a tweet. Rod Stewart, a man of many talents. He's going to be coming not too far from here to Edmonton later on this year. Many people very excited about it. In the meantime, though, he's been spending some time filling potholes. He says he has been filling up potholes. He's been repairing them with his shovel near his home after making complaints about it and saying that no one else could be bothered to do it, and his Ferrari simply couldn't handle the road anymore. 77 years old, sharing photos and videos of himself and a team putting gravel from a car into some potholes near Essex. Pretty hilarious stuff. You know what? Some other people just like to spray paint phallic images around them. And then the city has to do something about it, right? I love that. That's how you protest. Pink Floyd, David Gilmour removing their music from streaming services available in Russia and Belarus, saying that they stand in with the world in strongly condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but of course joining several other bands to do similar actions, whether removing the ability to have access to the music via streaming or simply removing themselves from a live performance. It continues. Meanwhile, benefit concerts seem to be popping up. In fact, Arcade Fire has just announced a very, very rushed last-minute benefit show to help out Ukraine. Literally tonight, it's going to be happening in New Orleans, and it's a pay-what-you-can gig. They just want to see some people come in, raise some funds, and do some good things.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Daylight savings time changes. Hard to handle for sure. I don't love it. And, it's not that hard of a thing. And now that we've got devices that automatically update the time for us that we carry around with us all the time, it's a lot harder to actually get caught by it and, spring forward, lose that hour, and then be completely discombobulated for the rest of the day. No, it just happens in the middle of the night, which also I take issue with. Why do we get one less 1 a.m. or one extra 1 a.m. at the other end of the year? Why don't we get one less 4 p.m. on a Friday? You know what I mean? Like, let's cut that early. That's the time where we should be losing an hour, if any, right? But I'm finding it a little bit weird adjusting today. The sunrise was a little later, and my brain's just, having trouble with it. But we always adjust, and it doesn't take long. It just takes a little while. This one does seem a little bit weird, though, because this time around, we turned the clocks forward, and somehow we lost 2 years and an hour instead.
Tuesday.
Ever wanted to go to space? You can go to the moon, sort of. Allow me to clarify. You can go on a trip to the moon for free. NASA is generating boarding passes for people and everything, but the catch is that it's just your name that would be going on the trip. Yeah, just your name. Okay, this is in preparation for cool stuff, though, I think. Yes, whataboutism abounds, and yes, there are probably some issues on the planet that we might want to consider, and maybe they're slightly more priority than getting off of the planet and checking out other places, but still, it's happening, and I'm not really against it. NASA looking at maybe getting some people back on the moon for the first time in a long time. It's an important part of human history. We all think back to 1969 summertime, first moon landing, Buzz Aldrin and Mr. Armstrong, and the one small step and the giant leap and everything. That is crucial. That is some stuff. But you know, we only sent people to the moon for like 3 years. 50 years ago. And we haven't sent anybody to the moon as humanity since 1972. 50 years ago. So they're trying to hook this up again. And they're trying to do some research ahead of time. So they just don't want to get too many bodies on this shuttle. I don't think that's a good idea. But the names may go first. And that is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. You can at least tell yourself that. I don't know if you can really brag to it. Yeah, my name went to the moon. Cool. But to you, that's cool, right? On a flash drive. I sure hope they can handle all that extra weight. This moon talk has got me thinking Dumb and Dumber. At least one of the funniest ad-lib lines in a movie ever.
Great. We landed on the moon!
It's fantastic. But it has been 50 years, right? 50 years since we landed on the moon. NASA's making some things happen. So far, they're just going to be sending people's names on a flash drive. That's exciting stuff. But I did read that Pete Davidson is going to be going to space next week. I didn't read why or how or what because I just don't really care. But yeah, Pete Davidson going to space himself. Finally, a Pete Davidson story that doesn't have to do with cringe celebrity marriage drama, though. I mean, I can appreciate that. That is a level that I absolutely am here for. Pete Davidson? And I didn't hear a celebrity female name whatsoever in the story? Fantastic. I'm here for it. Unless, I mean, of course, space is someone's ex and he's just going up there to stir stuff up. That's a very real possibility. He's going to be sending those Instagram photos of himself laying up in bed in space being like, bruh, I'm with your girl. With your girl. Technically, we all are. Space is everywhere, okay? Calm down, Pete. Calm down.
Hey, Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Weezer in the news because of their Seasons project. It was originally supposed to be 4 albums, and I mean, really, technically it will be, just a little shorter, I think. Project now, as we see it coming to its fruition, is going to be 4 EPs released on the first day of each season. So, pretty soon, Seasons Spring, spelled SZNZ, by the way, is going to be dropping very, very soon, out this week. And, yeah, they really had this gigantic, lofty idea of putting out these huge albums all throughout the year. In fact, they were calling it the Saga of Seasons. Okay, they're a little ambitious, and it looks like they're going to have to rein that in a little bit, but the music is still coming. Meanwhile, David Byrne of the Talking Heads, he is getting on the news about Spotify and his opinion on it. He's no stranger to Spotify and some animosity. He, in 2013, very publicly criticized them about the money that they were affording to artists for every stream. The pennies, literal pennies, that go to artists from every listen of their songs is just not enough. And at that time, years ago, nearly a decade, he pulled most of his music from the service as much as he possibly could. And since then, of course, and with the controversy of things going on revolving the Joe Rogan Experience, as well as several artists saying they don't want to be a part of the Spotify empire because of that reason, or because of the lack of money being paid to artists, or both, or a combination thereof. Yeah, I'm feeling reminiscent. Remember when? 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, and a couple of days is when the official restrictions started to actually come down for us. Slightly different timeline in different places for sure, but we're pretty much at the 2-year mark collectively. So, time for a little remember when. Remember when 2 years later, there are, a lot of memories. Most we just want to forget. Remember when people hoarded toilet paper and are only now reaching the end of their supply? People were literally separating the 2-ply. Remember when you couldn't buy hand sanitizer or Lysol wipes, but friends or coworkers would somehow not leave the house without multiple bottles of each? You're going, that's where they are. Found them. Remember when 2 weeks to bend the curve became 2 years to bend your entire brain? Because I do. I remember, for sure. Remember when we were washing our groceries for a month, like all of our groceries, and now I'm back to barely rinsing my produce? And remember when we almost went inside out trying not to choke on our own saliva while out in public because coughing felt weirdly illegal? Yeah, good times. And now I'm ready to move on.
Wednesday.
I'm learning things today. Did not know that Mike Tyson had his own cannabis company, for one thing. And I did not know that there is a new product that this company is selling called Mike Bites. You think about it for just a split second. Mike Tyson biting, what's the association? It's like saying, hey, Aussie, Do you have anything to do with bats in your history? You know what I mean? Yeah, the 1997 fight versus Evander Holyfield, where a chunk of that ear was bitten right off. Yeah, it's now a gummy with psychotropic effects. And with a chunk missing from the ear-shaped gummy, I might add. That is exactly what is being sold. Holy cow. First thing I thought was, this cannot be real. But apparently they have at least arrived in California, probably soon to be available in other spots as well. Every time you bite one, Evander Holyfield loses a little piece of himself. Huh? There's your slogan right there. New study. Yeah, always, every day it seems, new study telling us something or other. Contradicting ones from the past. Contradicting ones from the future, I guess, too. This new study, though, suggesting that sleeping with even a little bit of light is not good for you. And will kill everyone you know. It sometimes feels like that when you read these things. Don't ever sleep with any light. Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's even possible. I get it, yeah, lower the blue light from your screens like an hour before sleep. You know, there's some good habits to have. But I don't know if sleeping with a little bit of light is actually going to be not good for you. You know, I will say this. In Fort McMurray, midsummer, blackout curtains are essential. They just really are. I do get that. Sleeping every day with no darkness whatsoever, with full light, that might be causing some issues. And flip side, middle of the winter, when you're living your entire life with almost no vitamin D, that also has a bit of an effect. But you know what? Over 30 now, I'm anything but fancy, but I will take a satin sleep mask in a heartbeat at this age.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
It's time for music news. Kicking things off with Dolly Parton. Grateful, flattered, and extremely so to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but in a post that she put up on social media this week, says, I don't feel that I have earned that right. I really do not want votes to be split because of me. I should say it in her voice, because of me. So I must be respectfully bowing out. I do hope that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I'm ever worthy. This has, however, inspired me to put out a hopefully great rock and roll album at some point in the future, which I have always wanted to do. Then, as she usually does, she brings up her husband. My husband is a total rock and roll freak and has always encouraged me to do one. I wish all the nominees good luck and thank you for their compliment. Rock on. A rock album from Dolly Parton. Coming. Maybe. An unreleased Prince album is coming. Actually issued by Third Man Records. The Alternate Ego, Camille, going to be shared by Third Man Records in the very near future. Originally fleshed out in 1986. Yeah, it's not cruising too quickly anymore. The Ever Forward. Oh my, has that name ever not aged well? This is another one of the evergreen ships that, might be familiar with. The one in the fleet, the Ever Given, that blocked the Suez Canal almost a year to the month ago. Now it's cohort, cousin, colleague, whatever, Ever Forward, ran aground Sunday night, Chesapeake Bay near Baltimore, and it was en route to Norfolk, Virginia, I guess. All kinds of stuff on there. Some people's orders are not going to get delivered on time. It needs about 43 feet of water in order to be able to move, and it was stuck in about 25 feet deep waters. I don't know who made the choice. Just like I don't know who made the choice to try and maybe add a little angle to things when it came to the Suez Canal disaster, but yet this should be much easier to deal with. They should be able to get the items off of the ship maybe, or at least get it going again without it blocking a completely essential trade route and affecting things for like a year to come. No, this shouldn't be doing that, but it's still a bit of a pain in the butt. And it's just making us all think about the Suez again. That was a fun time, right? Actually, it kind of was fun to watch. Just not fun to deal with the fallout.
Thursday.
It is St. Patrick's Day. A very happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Curious about what your lucky charm is. I want to know what it is. And this is not necessarily something you actually consider a lucky charm. Obviously, the four-leaf clover comes to mind today. And Patrick getting in touch saying it's his birthday, so his lucky charm is the shamrock. Perfect. I've only ever found one in my entire life. One. I didn't have the music on. There we go. I think about other common lucky charms, like the rabbit's foot. Certainly doesn't seem very lucky for the rabbit, but apparently 31% of people don't believe in good luck charms, but still have them, which is hilarious. And it's like just in case, right? Just in case. And I totally get that. Just in case it does work, why not just have it? Hedge your bets, right? So whether you believe it helps your team win whatever, you wear your jockeys or whatever it is, tell me, what is your lucky charm? And if you say the cereal, I'm going to be upset. As we were talking about yesterday, Dolly Parton withdrew her nomination. She refused, though that sounds a little harsh. She just said no to a nomination for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, saying she doesn't feel that she deserves it. She hasn't really made a rock record, but she's looking at doing so. She would love to. Now, many people have made their comments. Judas Priest's Richie Faulkner calling it a classy move. Saying that she's feeling like she doesn't have the right. She hasn't earned the right. He says, yeah, classy move for sure. I think she recognizes her brand and it didn't necessarily fit into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I think it raises questions to what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's brand is as well. Good question. Also, some very prolific producers have already reached out and said, hey, Dolly, seriously, rock and roll album? Let's make this thing. And the world waits. Meanwhile, Korn's Jonathan Davis has been reaching out to the world about his COVID battle, his long COVID battle, saying he still has been dealing with symptoms and the fallout. He says, hopefully in time this will get better, but I'm still fatigued like crazy. He actually tested positive for the virus last August, 2 weeks after the 2021 U.S. tour began. And, of course, 6 of the scheduled concerts in that tour had to be canceled as a result. He's still not feeling much better. Now, just reading about how the Earth has a couple of blobs, and I mean gigantic blobs. Huge. 100 times taller than Mount Everest, each the size of a continent. They're in the mantle, so they're underneath the crust. The mantle is some liquidy stuff that's going on there, semi-liquid. And then below that is the core. I mean, it's like an onion. The Earth is a big old onion. We got lots of layers. But these are kind of like in amongst them. Weird growths. Tumorous, you might describe them as. Although, I mean, they're just rock. Liquid rock. They're technically referred to as Large Low Shear Velocity Provinces, or LLSVPs. Now you know, and you'll never forget, right? Scientists have done a lot to try and study them. They do seem to be shifting and changing shape, though, and we don't really understand why or why they're even there in the first place, I guess. We know so much, and yet we have no idea what's going on with these 2 massive blobs in the Earth's mantle. One underneath the African continent, and then one underneath the Pacific Ocean. Of course, we have no idea what they are. So theories abound. Told it to my significant other. She said, are we just a giant Malteser? I'm thinking, no, not Malteser. But it could be nougat. It absolutely could be nougat. That is a very big possibility. Whatever's at the center of a Tootsie Pop as well. I mean, that could be what's at the center of the Earth. Jules Verne, want to chime in? You ever find anything?
Friday.
The world's first virtual beer is here. I'm sorry, but they clearly don't remember the old days. What is happening is Heineken has gotten in on things. Yeah, the crypto, NFT, and metaverse things. Yay. They now have a brew called Heineken Silver, exclusively from a virtual brewery in the digital platform Decentraland. I know, cringe, right? But apparently they swapped out the hops for pixels, brewed with 100% computer-generated ingredients that you can, buy and put in your little virtual museum in the metaverse. I don't know. Clearly they don't remember the Wild West app days, all right? When they told us there was an app for everything, but none of them really did a whole lot. Do you remember? Amongst the virtual Zippo lighters, record scratches on demand, and the ability to T-Pain your voice at a moment's notice, there was a virtual beer, all right? There was a virtual beer that you could virtually drink, and it was far superior for the simple fact that it had nothing to do with NFT scams or the metaverse. So, try again on this one, maybe?
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Kicking it off with more details about Dolly Parton and her nomination into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. She, of course, famously said that she doesn't think she is deserving of it, has not earned it because she hasn't really made rock and roll records. But the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation is saying that the country legends nomination is still going to be considered. I don't quite understand it. I think maybe respect her wishes, but at the same time, it also could just be a fact of the matter of it's too late. Things are happening. We can't stop it now. Maybe they'll just make sure that she doesn't actually get inducted on this run. She would love to put out a rock and roll album, and everybody's saying, do it, please. And then we can put her in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in a heartbeat. Meanwhile, speaking of rock and roll, Def Leppard got a brand new song that they are giving us the preview for. In fact, the whole song is out now on YouTube called Kick. And first song representing the first album of songs that they have put out in 7 years. And they actually recorded it all over the globe throughout the pandemic. It's called Diamond Star Halos, out May 27th. Here's a taste of Kick. Of course, Def Leppard touring with Motley Crue on their stadium tour with support from Joan Jett and Poison, coming near to town September 4th in Edmonton. We're talking about, I know as much as it pains me, Pete Davidson, in the news yet again, apparently was aiming to be off into space in the next week or so on a Blue Origin flight. That is the Jeff Bezos-owned, version of this weird intergalactic multi-billionaire space war race thing that seems to be going on between a very few select people. But yeah, Pete Davidson apparently scheduled to go up into orbit at some point. Now, not going to space. I don't really know the full story as to why he was ever going to and then why he's not going to, but it does make me question Pete Davidson now not actually going to space. Hilarious, because where hasn't that guy been?
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruise FM.